All right, guys, this is going to be your video for your Geometry SLO Review Worksheet number 2, Triangle Congruence Proofs, and we have a special guest speaker, Miss Carolyn Fisher. She's going to walk you through this proof, so hopefully she does as good a job as I do. I don't know. I'm a little concerned. I am going to sit in the back of the room and heckle her, though. So listen for me, because you know I'm loud. Okay, here she is.
Okay, I don't know if anybody can compare with Miss Petrusco, but I will do my best. And I do certainly love proofs. So, here we go. Even if you don't like proofs, it's okay. So, is there any way to fix this microphone so it stays on my head? Okay, a little technical issue. Miss Petrusco is going to work everything out so that we're okay.
The technical issue is that my head is bigger than Miss Fisher's head.
No surprise there.
Right. Ooh, better?
Oh, perfect. She's the best. Okay, here we go. So I gave you plenty of time to look at this proof. We're on number 4 on your worksheet. So hopefully you found it. Yes, it's on the back side. And we are going to try to prove that the two triangles are congruent. So we are, of course, going to look at the given information. Now, I'm going to give you all the tricks you need to get all those free points that you just can't afford to lose. Given information, you got to use it. It's going to give you free points. Okay? LM is perpendicular to JK. That's the first thing that I'm reading. I'm reading it right here. And all of you wanted to do this anyways, but now you can do it for real. You can say that these are right angles. Okay? If you already did that and you hadn't read that, shame on you. But now we can say for sure we do know that those are right angles. And as soon as you mark that, now you got to make a statement about it. So the proof part of it is you have to actually write down what you're marking in the picture. You guys are all really good at marking in the picture. Now let's write it down. What did we mark? We marked a right angle. We marked another right angle. So I'm going to write down that angle 1 is 90 degrees, and I'm going to write down that angle 2 is 90 degrees. And then I like to do sort of an informal proof writing here, just to keep things a little simple for us. So I'm going to go ahead and just put an arrow, or you can put because, and I'm going to write that I knew that because fix that. You're copying. Don't mess up like I did. LM is perpendicular to JK. So I've got my nice statement, what I know is true, and I have my reason to go with it. Now, unfortunately, that's not really helping us in terms of proving the triangle's congruent, but we're going to get there. You got to have 3 congruent statements. Sometimes I like to even give myself numbers, so I remember to make all 3 before you're allowed to say this. So now let's make our 3 congruent statements that we have to do. First one is going to come from what we wrote down right here. We said angle 1 equals 90 and angle 2 equals 90. You cannot disagree with me. Doesn't that mean angle 1 has to equal angle 2? And what's my reason for that? Both equal 90 degrees. If you like to be real fancy here, we can say that we're using what we call the substitution property. And if you didn't learn that or you're not used to writing that, as long as you say something about how they're both equal to 90 degrees, I think we'll be good. So we've got one congruent statement, and now we're going to keep going. We need 2 more. And I'm going to go back to my friend, the given information. Given information, I use this part. I've got something else here. JL is congruent to KL. And my reason, you got to put a reason. How do I know that's true? It was given. They told it to us. Those are the free points I was talking about. Isn't that great? JL is congruent to KL. So I've got that marked in my picture now. I've got 2 of my congruent statements. Let's see. Congruence. Congruence. I need one more thing. And I'm looking at my given. I use that. There's nothing else here, so maybe I should write this down. This triangle JML is congruent to triangle KML. No, that was a really bad idea. Don't do that. That's what we're trying to prove. So we can't use that to get to the proof. That's going to come right down here after I get my 3 congruent statements. So there has to be something else that you know. Take a look at your picture. Stare at it. You should be seeing something. What else is congruent in your picture? Things that I like to look for. I like to look for vertical angles. We know vertical angles are equal. Do you see any vertical angles in your picture? Nope, not seeing them here. What else could I do? If you put something like that, tick marks there. Sometimes you don't like to mark them, but you should at least be seeing that if I look at triangle JML, and then I look at triangle KML, they share that middle side, that length LM. And that's going to be your last statement, is that LM is congruent to LM. I know it seems ridiculous that we have to write that down, but we have to have our 3 congruent statements just so that I'm happy. Thanks. And how do I know that LM is congruent to LM? It's obvious, right? I like to say that it's a shared side. And if you'd like to write sentences here and say because it's a shared side, again, we've got this fancy term we can put with it, like we had substitution property there, if you want to be fancy. That's called a reflexive property, when you have the same thing on the left side of the equation as what you have on the right side of the equation. And we're getting really close. You did all the hard work. That was what you needed to do. We've got 1, 2, 3 congruent statements, which means that I now should be able to say the triangles are congruent. So I'm going back up to my proof, and I'm going to copy that down, literally. Copy it down exactly as it says. Triangle JML is congruent to triangle KML. And I need to have a reason with this one too. I like to say this is the grand finale of my proof. Okay, and this is what you actually practiced the most when you were doing congruent triangle shortcuts. Before we even wrote any of the proofs, we practiced using our shortcuts. Okay, let's make a nice little list for ourselves. 5 shortcuts you should remember. Side, 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 if we have 3 pairs of congruent sides. Side, angle, side. Angle, side, angle. Angle, angle, side. And we've got one more. Anybody remember it? Think, think, think. No, not that one. It was sort of the special case of that one. HL. So HL stands for hypotenuse and leg, and that really is when you have the ASS case, but for right triangles. Okay, just to help myself out a little bit, I'm going to put little S's and A's here, and I'm going to give myself a little room here. Not that I really want to get rid of that, but I'm going to put a pair of S's there because I've got sides congruent. I'm going to do that right here, and then I'm going to put little A's down here by my angles. So if I look at just one of those triangles, I've got an S, I've got an S, I've got an A. And the A is not between the S's, because if I go S, I get to an A up there, but there's no A. So I've got a pair of sides. The non-included angle is what we called it. So that really is that ASS case, not my SAS. So I've got to go with this, and because there's the right angles, then I can say that HL, or hypotenuse leg is the full name for it, is my shortcut for how I can say the triangles are congruent. Okay, just to recap, when you're doing these proofs, what your teachers are going to be looking for is that you have 1, 2, 3 congruent statements, and that you finished off with your conclusion. Most important part, don't forget to write it. It's given to you what you have to prove. You rewrite it and give yourself a reason. This is always going to be one of your 5 shortcuts that I've got listed right up here. So have those in mind and maybe practice those a little bit more. Good job. I hope you enjoy the rest of your proofs.